So many of us, maybe all of us, were shaped by our black church experience, but it's safe to say we're not in a black church anymore. We're in a church with black people. We're here. But this is not the traditional black church experience yet. I believe that in each one of our churches across the journey, we can see the ways that the black church and its music has influenced our experience and the music itself, that it's reached beyond our borders and in some ways was meant to do that. What ways have you all seen that the black church music experience has influenced the church at large and music at large?
Yeah, I would say for me personally, it shaped me significantly. And so I grew up in, traditional black church, singing all of the songs like we kind of singing tonight. The choir songs, Hezekiah Walker, John P. Key, Kirk Franklin, all of that. But it wasn't until I heard Israel Houghton for the first time that I was like, hold on, wait a minute. I think I got a place. In the sense that, traditional gospel music I loved it. It shaped me. It gave me the color that I have. But sometimes, it could be technical and out your vocal range. You know what I'm saying? I can't sing like that. And so I heard Israel, and what I loved about it was this new, fresh kind of take, but it still had those elements that I was used to hearing and feeling growing up. But with this new flair, and I'm like, oh man, I love that. And I mean, he was doing all type of stuff, speaking in Spanish and just really had an appeal to the nations, but the feeling of the music still was very gospel, just the vocal arrangements and all of that stuff. And so I think that really just speaks to just our ability to bring our creativity into different styles and genres. We know a contemporary song like Great Are You, Lord, right? But we might take that song and just start adding different chords and different arrangements into it. And that's a part of the gospel art form, especially today, is yes, the acknowledging where we came from, but our ability to kind of create on the fly and kind of riff off of stuff that's already been there. And then a good example is how we sing hymns. You know what I'm saying? Versus how we hear them in different places. It's just two totally different ways it happens. Yeah. And I think it's just the art form we bring to it. So.
I mean, a classic example of that is the song we just sang, right? Yeah. Great Is Your Mercy, which was written in the early 80s by a white man and is known as a classic black gospel song because of the way that the art form took that music and shaped it and remade it into something that was something that could have not been apart from that. And I would say that the other side of that coin is for those of us who didn't grow up in the black church, artists like Israel, and now there's even more artists like Travis Green, and you got so many people in Maverick City that are making music that has a gospel feel, a gospel tradition behind it, but with an accessibility and just something about the way it's written and arranged that is moving beyond and making it so that artists like me feel like I can still be true to myself, and I'm not trying to be, not genuine by playing these songs. And many of the older traditional songs, it's if we do try to go too far that way, with an all white band or a predominantly white band, it does feel a little bit like appropriation and things like that. But when we start bringing in these arrangements and the ways that gospel has blended and become this melting pot of music, it creates inroads not only for predominantly white churches to receive music from that tradition, but also to get his hands in it too, because it is a beautiful art form that inspires me as a musician, as an artist, and the fact that it's accessible for me and inviting to me to roll up my sleeves and get involved is a beautiful thing. So it's not only a way for you to move out of your old traditions and explore new territory, but a way for you to influence white artists, like you said, Hispanic artists, people all around the globe are influenced by this sound. And I would even say, Sabrina, we were talking about this the other day, not just stylistically, but theologically. The doctrine, all the stuff that we've been talking about tonight, rejoice and lament. The black church has a very unique perspective and experience that we need. And that's the joy of being at a diverse church, is that I'm able to read the scriptures and hear the scriptures from the vantage point of a marginalized people group, a people group that has experiences that I will never experience. And when we introduce songs that resonate with the ways that I suffer and the ways that my family suffers, like it gives language, the same language that Bianca, you were talking about, that you grew up, you didn't even know what you were singing, and all of a sudden you had this prayer language for rejoicing and lament. Like now I'm learning that language because of the songs that your tradition has gifted to me and to our church. And that's just a beautiful thing. And I love that, even the fact that many of the songs that we're singing tonight, I'm struck by how many of them are in our library already at our church, and that we're already being influenced and impacted by the gift of many writers from generations before, that now we're being able to participate in that kingdom reality with y'all. It's beautiful.
I think even outside of how the songs are arranged, and I think even how we worship is very influential. Like the fluidity and the freedom in worship, and being able to cry and run around the church and do whatever, but we're worshiping God without restriction, without feeling like, oh, I can't jump up, I can't clap my hands, I can't lift my hands up, I can't run up to the altar. And I think that there's just freedom in that. Like, that's one thing I really value about growing up in a Black church, is like not feeling like somebody looking at me like I'm crazy. But I'm bubbling inside because I just really want to express my love and how I value God in my life. And so I think that's one big influence.
Contrary to popular belief, I don't know if you guys realize, I didn't grow up in a Black church. And so, but I remember like growing up, we sang, like the choir in my church loved singing and sang a lot of like Brooklyn Tab songs. Oh, yeah. And like, and one of the songs we're singing tonight, Total Praise, we sang that. I remember when that was introduced in my church and just being like, and it was just like this powerful, like, and talking about how gospel music going beyond the Black church into my Midwestern all-white church, but it gave language, and it gave like this way of expressing worship to God that would be, it's hard to come by. I was saying to Mark yesterday that there is a presence of God that you experience in this setting that you have a hard time experiencing elsewhere, and coming from the outside, coming into this, and it's just it's so life-giving, and that's all I got.
And it is a powerful thing to know that God designed us in order to be able to share that experience, so that we can see more of Him. Pastor Carlos was talking on Sunday about the fact that we're all spread out across the globe, and God gives us a unique lens and experience. But what He's revealing to us is not just about us, it's about Himself. It's about His character. And when we each see that little picture, that lens of who God is, it's not designed to stay separate. They're designed actually to be layered upon one another, so that when we look through that full lens, we see God as He really is.
Bread of heaven, sent down from glory. Many things you are on earth, a holy king, a carpenter.